Any additions, corrections, or modifications to tonight's agenda?
None.
Hearing none, it's time for citizen statements. If anyone would like to make a citizen statement before the board, please fill out a goldenrod sheet and hand it to recording secretary Lori Johnson. First up tonight is Yuli Baryshnikov.
Okay. So last time I was here trying to draw your attention to the report card. I'm glad to see that people who were not here last meeting are here now. Maybe learn something about report card, maybe watch something. Just to emphasize, it's about equity, it's about English learners who don't learn English in this school district. Actually, nobody learns English in this school district. In Bloomington Normal, the fraction of English learners who exceed the expectation in English is greater than the fraction of general population in this district who do. So English learners in Bloomington Normal are better served than here, kids born here. Okay. Anyway, so let's move here, closer to the situation in the district. By the way, the equity director, is he visiting? Equity director, is he visiting those meetings ever? I mean, did he move at all from Bloomington Normal? I don't think so. It's actually hard to judge him, because if he has kids, then obviously they will be better served there than in the district where he is equity director. This district is taking a lot of money from us citizens, and today, as you know, you will be voting, approving again the request to raise the levy again to the max legally allowed. And as usual, you will raise the taxes. As usual, you will steer the taxes not to the teachers, but to the administrators. And as usual, you will pat yourself on the back saying, yeah, it's outstanding schools and outstanding district. I don't know how you are going to continue that. So you're raising the taxes on the population which is aging. The fraction of kids in this town is way smaller than the fraction of kids in Bloomington Normal or even in Champaign. And guess why? Because the people don't want to settle here. Why? Well, maybe you will answer me. So the population is aging, and you're raising taxes on them. So it means the fraction of people who are in retirement on a fixed income is growing, and you're trying to squeeze more and more money out of them. So this town will go down thanks to you, thanks to your actions, thanks to your insistence of doing over and over again the same thing and hoping that one day the schools will be halfway decent. I'm not sure why you're doing
that. Thank you, Mr. Baryshnikov. Next up is Scott Dowds.
Good evening. My name is Scott Dowds. For those of you that don't know me, I've been a lifelong Urbana resident, and I have two boys, one who's a graduate of UHS, one who's a senior this year. I also started and still help run the Urbana School Parent Advocacy Group on Facebook. And I wanted to come before you tonight to discuss a couple of things. One is some frustrations that I've been feeling, especially with the new grading system at the high school. We have seen, for my son particularly, his grade level is the grade level the seniors this year are the grade level that had their 8th grade graduation wiped out by COVID, had their entire 9th grade year wiped out by COVID, and had to school from home. So they really missed a lot of those transitions. So the struggle for all the students obviously has been great, but for his level, I think especially, they've really kind of missed a lot of those transitions, missed a lot of those things that kind of help ease them into their high school life. And for him now, being in his senior year, he was really kind of looking forward to graduating early. Only needed a couple of credits left, and starting out the year with the new grading system that we had no indication that had come into play because we had received no communication about it. And with the way it's set up, all of his grades right out of the gate started showing as 1s or sometimes 2s, but generally mainly 1s. And it really kind of took the wind out of his sails. He's already dealt with a lot of these kids have, I'm not saying it's just him, but it really took the wind out of his sails to even make the effort. And we have had to struggle to get him to come to even just getting the barest amount of work done. The parents group, I just put out a random question asking if anybody else had experienced this with their kids, and the amount of responses I got was overwhelming. A lot of people feel very strongly about this new grading system, and I know it's been in place at the grade school and middle school. I was not aware of that prior to this, but since we don't have kids down there, obviously didn't really know what they had implemented it there. But we did put together a survey, and I did just want to briefly touch on it before I get to my next point. We did put together a survey for people to kind of express their how the grading system has affected them or their experience with it thus far. And just real quick, I'll just touch on the main one. There's a lot more here, and we're going to keep the survey going for a few more days to really try and get as many responses as possible. But so far, from what we've gotten, it's 280 responses in just over 2 days. The overall experience, they had 5 choices to pick from: mostly positive, somewhat positive, neutral, somewhat negative, and almost all negative. The mostly positive is at 2%, somewhat positive is at 1%, neutral is at 19%, and somewhat negative at 29%, and almost all negative at 49%. One other real quick thing in here, we do have it broken down by parents, staff, students, and then staff who are also parents. And the staff response for should SRL continue in high school right now is at 99% no. So the staff, I know, feels very underserved by this as well. A lot of what we've heard from them is that it was not rolled out well, it was not presented to them well, and there's a lot of confusion as to how to apply it. It's not being applied the same across the board. Excuse me. And that leads kind of into my larger point. I know a lot of people have also expressed frustration over the last few years, especially about communication in general from the administration and from the district. The Wiley School closing issue, I know a lot of people were very caught off guard by that. The grading issue, there's a couple others, but I don't want to go too far over my 5 minutes here. But for the most part, what the parents have felt, at least a lot of the parents I talk to and what I get from the group, and a lot of staff as well, is that communication is very lacking. Even as far back, the reason I started this group was because of the issue with the deans being taken out of the schools under the previous administration. And that also was not communicated to us prior to its happening. And so for years, the parents in this district, the staff in this district, have all asked for just one thing, above all else: open, honest communication and the ability to be part of the decisions that are made before they are made. Now, I understand that we are not in the same position as you all. You may have information that we do not have. So I'm not saying that we have to be the final deciders for all these things, but we would like to be included in these decisions that affect our children prior to them happening. That is the biggest frustration that I hear from people over and over again, is that these decisions get dropped on our heads and there is no chance for us to give any kind of feedback, no ability for us to get any buy-in into these procedures or into these policies that get changed. And I mean, if we can put together a survey and get 280 responses in 2 days, I have to believe that you all would be able to contact us, to engage with us, and to get our feedback prior to these changes being made. And that is the one thing, if I leave here and leave you with nothing else, that's the one thing I really want to impress upon you, is that we really want to be involved in these decisions. The parents in Urbana are very committed, they're very passionate, and I assure you that if you reached out to us, we would happily give you our feedback. We may not always agree, I won't say that, but if we're included in the decision, it takes a lot of that anger out of the process. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. If anybody else would like to make a statement before the board, please wave your hand and fill out goldenrod sheet in the back of the room. Seeing none, that ends citizen statements for tonight. There is a call for an executive session following this meeting for the purpose of litigation facing the district. Is there an approval for tonight's agenda? Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Pardon me.
I move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Any business? We have an agenda. We do have commendations and recognitions tonight. First up is a recognition of the USD 116 employees who have served in the armed forces. For the Navy, at UHS, we have Dan Lance and Nathan Watson, and at UMS, Priscilla Kraut. And for the Army, at UHS, we have Michael McBride, and Yankee Ridge, we have Lena Davis. For the United States Marine Corps, at Leo, we have Steve Ryder. And for the Air Force at UHS, we have Chris Moeller and Jerry Moreland.
Oh, I was just going to say, as always, we have a token of our appreciation that will be sent to the buildings of all of our employees that are current or former service. Oh, sure, I can do grants. CUSF grant recipients, Vincent O. Green grant, Letitia Douglas, Urbana Middle School for $4,000. This was, she brought Caden Speaks, a young man who is a financial entrepreneur who is 12 years old. That was a great assembly. Gift of Fine Arts grant, Lane Cannon Jerde from Dr. Preston L. Williams Elementary for $510. Kara Marizzi, Leo Elementary, $500. And Becky Park, Urbana High School, $537.50. Career Awareness Grant, Janice Knight, Urbana Middle School, $3,000. And the Attach Grant, Jill Lagerstam and Roberta Bennett, Urbana High School, $1,006. So congratulations to all of the CUSF grant recipients.
Thank you very much. Our student ambassadors are not here present this evening, but they gave us a report to give in their stead.
Of course they did. So they are both. John, yeah, I was talking all that time. Sorry. Okay. Urbana School Health Center. You can find the Urbana School District Health Center at Urbana High School near the auto shop. The health center is open from 8 to 5 on school days. Some of the services that are offered: vaccinations, mental health services, dental, and physicals for school or sports. Please reach out to the health center if you have any questions. And they do take walk-in appointments. The Loophole is a literary magazine at Urbana High School that displays art, photography, and writing. If you want to know more about the Loophole, please reach out to Mr. Burkhead at UHS. He's in room 2224. The Loophole is a space that provides students creative freedom and a way to express themselves. It helps UHS students grow and showcase their talents and passions for art projects like paintings, poetry, stories, photos, collages. UHS Students Picture Day is coming. I know this is big. So today was Picture Day for the freshmen. Tomorrow, sophomores, Thursday, juniors, and Friday, seniors. UHS Garden Cleanup. On this coming Saturday, November 18th, anyone who can, please come and help Urbana High School by cleaning up the school garden. So the school garden is located on the corner of Race and Iowa Street. They will be out there cleaning that space up from 9 to 12 this Saturday. If you'd like to join or you have questions or concerns, please reach out to Ms. Jacques or Ms. Neal. This will give you a chance to be out in the weather while it's not too cold or chilly, because it is supposed to be beautiful. Improve their Urbana High School and do something good for the community. And swimming open gym, last but not least. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there will be an open gym for swimmers. Students at Urbana High School interested in joining the swim team may come out and practice swimming during open gym times. This will be located at the Urbana Aquatic Center next to Urbana High School and Urbana Middle School. Every day this week from 4 to 5. Students must have a swimsuit and towel and see the athletic office for the open gym. Thank you for your attention from our student ambassadors.
That's awesome. Thank you, ambassadors, for giving that to us. We do have one administrative report tonight. It's about our 2023 proposed tax levy. Katie.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully I won't bore you to sleep because the night is young. I'm early on in this presentation. So in the past, my predecessor presented a memo and would discuss it, but I went a little bit further this year and put together a presentation because I do better when I'm scripted. So I hope that, especially with the newer board members that are here tonight, that this will be more of a background information, maybe for those watching at home as well, to try to give more of an introduction to what the tax levy is all about, because it really is one of the most important things that you do as board members every year. So with that, I will be presenting an overview of the tax levy process to you tonight. The tax levy is the formal request by taxing districts for a certain amount of revenue to be generated by a property tax. The levy determines the total amount to be raised by property taxes in the coming year. The 2023 tax levy will fund the taxes that the district receives in May and June of the current fiscal year 2024, and then in July through November or December of fiscal year 2025. So it gets split between 2 fiscal years. Oh, I don't know what I just did there. So here's an overview of the topics that I will cover on tonight's slides. As board members, you probably get a lot of random questions from the community about any number of random topics. The levy is a very complex topic, and it can be very confusing, and that may lead to questions from community members, such as, I thought tax caps were going to keep my taxes from going up. What gives? I saw the black box in the News Gazette with some big increases. Does that mean my taxes are going up? I hope the information that I provide to you tonight will help equip you to answer these questions and others that you may receive throughout the community. The property tax levy is one of the most important actions that this board takes on an annual basis. Why is that? Well, it's because the tax levy provides approximately 60% of the district's total operating revenues every single year. This slide shows the last 10 years of the district's property tax, of our total operating revenues. And as you can see in the black percentages on the orange bar at the bottom, that local revenue sources, which is almost entirely property taxes, make up between 52 and 66% of our revenues on an annual basis. But before we dive any further into the details of the levy, I do want to review some common levy terms that I will be using during this presentation. The tax levy and a lot of our business processes tend to use quite a few acronyms. And so I think it's important to define those as a starting point before we dive further into the details. So the first term is equalized assessed value. And this is the partial value of your property. It is a figure on which your tax bill is calculated. You may have seen this number on a Board of Review assessment notice, such as the one that's displayed as an example on the screen, if you own property in Urbana. And for Champaign County, the equalized assessed value is equal to 1/3 of the market value of your property as determined by the Board of Review. However, although those were a lot of complex terms, I like to think of EAV as pie. Let's call it a pumpkin pie because it is November and it's nearly Thanksgiving. Each property in the district is a piece of that pie that composes the district's total tax base. So consider this imaginary pie on the far left with 6 equal pieces with 6 equal tax bills. And that adds up to the total district's revenue. However, in the middle example, if one of the pieces of pie files for a tax exemption and no longer receives the tax bill, the size of the pie remains the same, but the remaining 5 slices increase in size to cover the total tax bill of the district. So that's when the tax rate increases. Due to tax caps, the district is guaranteed the same amount of dollars that we received in the prior year, but each taxpayer's rate has to increase in order to cover the total tax extension. Inversely, if one of the pieces of pie puts a huge addition on their property and gets reassessed, the remaining tax bills shrink to make room for the larger slice of pie on the far right. Again, the total tax revenue to the district remains the same. It is just a matter of how much each property owner pays towards that total. It's just pie. All right, so the next key term I just want to define is the change in the Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index is a measure of the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket of consumer goods and services. This would include the costs of food and beverages, housing, apparel, transportation, medical care, recreation, education, and communication. Historically, over a 30-plus year period of time, the average change in the Consumer Price Index has been about 2.2%. That said, the CPI as an indicator of inflation does have some limitations. CPI is not a full measure of the cost of living, and it does not attempt to measure everything that affects living standards. So, for example, last year, commodities prices went up 7%, but our insurance rates increased 39%. So it doesn't, it's not always accurate in every one of those markets. And in addition, it can't measure the differences in price levels in different population groups or take into consideration social or environmental effects on different costs. That said, CPI is the measure that is used in the tax caps legislation, and so that is what we are bound to use by the law that determines the amount of increase that we are eligible to receive. And lastly, the last term I want to define is the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, which is also known as PTEL, but we also just call it tax caps. So the background, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on tax caps because it does overcomplicate the way that we have to do taxes, our levy in Urbana and other districts in Illinois that approve tax cap legislation. So tax cap, the law was approved by Champaign County voters in 1996. And of the 102 counties in Illinois, 39 counties wound up voting to approve tax caps. PTEL allows taxing districts to receive an inflationary increase in tax extensions on existing property values that's limited to the lesser of 5% or the change in the consumer price index. Plus, there's an additional amount of increase for any new property that comes on in the year that it comes on. There's a common misconception that tax caps cap individual property owners' tax bills, and this is not the case. The term tax caps can be misleading because of this, and it does not actually tax individual property tax bills or individual assessments. The fact is that tax caps the district's property tax extension or the total amount of taxes that the district can receive over the prior year's amount. So I will continue to discuss some of the benefits and limitations of tax caps as we progress through the remaining slides. So next I will do a brief overview of the levy cycle. So while we bring this proposed levy to the board in November, the levy cycle actually begins in January of this year, 2023, when the Illinois Department of Revenue releases the change in the consumer price index for the coming levy cycle. Then over the summer, the county assessor publishes EAV estimates for the coming year, and we use these pieces of information as they're available to begin making some calculations of what our proposed levy may be, which is what I am presenting to you this evening. However, the key point I really want to emphasize on the levy cycle is that the tax cycle begins before all information is available to us. We are asked to present and approve a levy before the EAV is finalized, and that doesn't actually happen until April of 2024. If new construction values are not captured when they first are declared, we lose the ability to add those tax dollars to our revenue stream in perpetuity, and that actually would be a negative effect to the existing taxpayers because you wouldn't be able to absorb the new property into the pie to be able to levelize the rate amongst the remaining taxpayers. Following the board's approval of the tax levy this evening, we will publish the required public hearing notice in the newspaper, which I will review on the following slide. The board will then hold a public hearing and finalize the levy at the December business meeting ahead of the filing deadline. So what you see on the next slide, thanks, John, is an example of the Truth in Taxation public hearing notice, which is lovingly referred to as the black box ad. And this is last year's as an example because we won't produce this year's until after the board's approval of the proposed levy tonight, at which point it will actually go on our website and in the newspaper ahead of the public hearing. It's typically published in early December. It's required to be published between 7 and 14 days prior to the board meeting and the public hearing. And it's required only if the district is levying more than 5% from the prior year. It has very specific requirements as a legal ad that aren't really applied to any other legal ads that I'm aware of. It has to appear in the commercial section of the paper. It is not allowed to appear in the legal notices section of the classified ads. It can't be in the back of the paper. It has to be up front. It must be at least 1/8 of a page large. It has to have a 1/4 of an inch black border, and it has to have 12-point font. So we also are required to post it on our website. So that's just really weird because that's very unusual, but it's supposed to really draw attention to it and make sure that the public is aware of what is coming. In my experience, the black box ad tends to be more confusing than informative, especially when it relates to PTEL districts, and is a bit of an antiquated, unfunded mandate due to declining readership and newspaper circulation. But I'm not here to give my opinion, so we'll move on. So next I will review some historical rates and values for the Urbana School District's tax levy. This slide should help you answer the question that your community member may ask of, I saw the black box ad in the News Gazette with some big increases. Does that mean my taxes are going up? I hope that after I describe the information on this slide, you'll be able to have a better understanding of that. As I mentioned, the levy is prepared on estimates, and the final values are not known until after the deadline for when the levy must be filed. Due to these uncertainties, our levy request is larger than our actual dollars received. This allows for changes in the values that occur between this filing deadline in December and the finalization of those values in April. Compare the levy request, for example, the levy request column to the actual extension column amounts on this chart and notice the differences. For example, in levy year 2021, we levied an increase of 25% of the prior year's levy, but ultimately we were extended an increase of 2.77%. Is that right? Is that on there? Yeah, 2021. So the key point here is that the levy does not determine the extension. The extension is what you actually get. The levy is a request. The fact is that the final extension is a calculation that is performed by the county clerk based on what tax cap law allows us to collect. Since 2016, the district has levied an amount that includes the currently exempt hospital properties within the district's boundaries if they were to be added back to the tax rolls following the levy filing deadline in December. Ultimately, the district does see modest increases in tax revenues each year. These final realized increases are a combination of change in the CPI, new construction or annexations, expiring TIF properties, which we saw last year with 20 million of new expiring TIF coming on. And in some cases, it could also include voter-approved referenda. We don't have that in this community at the moment, but that is another reason that you would see an actual increase that's above the levied amount, or that is higher than just the change in the CPI. Okay, next slide, please. This slide displays the historical tax rates for Urbana School District for the past 20 years. So of note, in 2013, as you can see on the 2013 bar, this was the year that the Carle Hospital tax exemption went into effect. So the rate spiked for the remaining taxpayers. So remember the pumpkin pie, each piece of the tax bill got bigger to be able to pay the total tax bill. And Carle made up about 10% of the tax bill in Urbana at the time, and then it was then exempt, but the district was guaranteed the same dollars from the prior year, so everybody's remaining rates spiked. The levy, and then again, another year to note is that the levy in year 2018 dipped down after the final debt service payment was made on the 2002 bond issuance that was used for the construction of the indoor aquatic center. And another interesting fact about the 2002 bond that I'll just throw at you while we're here is that $1 million per year of that debt service was abated on the 2002 bonds after the facility's sales tax went into effect in 2009 until those bonds were fully paid in 2018. And that was a promise that we made to the taxpayers when we approved the sales tax, when the voters approved the sales tax. So it went down a little bit that year that we started abating because we didn't have to levy a debt service levy. And then after the bonds were fully paid, it went down even further in 2018. This slide shows the 20-year history of Urbana School District's equalized assessed values for the district. And what is interesting to note here is that increasing EAV amounts from 2003 to 2010 coincide with decreasing tax rates from the previous slide. So I want to ask you to just look at the years 2003 to 2010 and see how they're going up, up, up. And then if John could just back up a slide and you can see how the rate then goes down. Because increasing EAVs cause the tax rate for each piece of pie. As there's more EAV to go around, each piece has to pay a little bit less. So you can kind of see how that works, that the tax rate goes down as the EAV goes up. And then similarly, decreasing EAV amounts from 2011 to 2015 coincide with increasing tax rates on the previous slide. So this is a perfect example of what PTEL does. It protects taxpayers in times of EAV growth and by lowering the tax rate, and it protects districts in times of declining EAVs, which would be indicated by increasing tax rates. So recent years have benefited from some new property growth in the district, especially last year in levy year 2022, where we had 34 million of new property plus 20 million of recovered TIF from the expiration of TIF 2, and that's really done a lot to stabilize our tax rates. Next slide, please. So additional details regarding the 2023 proposed tax levy were included in the memo that went out with the board packet. That concludes the slides that I prepared for you tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have to further this discussion.
Board members, go ahead, Robbie.
Can you go back about 5 or 6 slides to the one where it had the, yeah, that's the slide. Is that 2022 actual percent increase a typo, or is it actually 12.39% last year?
No, our actual revenues did go up that much, but remember, it's because of that huge amount of new property. Our average new property, and so we really did get quite a bit more money in the levy year 2022 compared to the prior year. So we actually got an increase of 12.39%. We requested 30, but we knew that we were having this influx of new property from the 34 million of the apartment building that's on University and Lincoln. And then we also got the 20 million in new TIF property. So that's and then plus that was 5% CPI, which is virtually unheard of. I mean, in all the years that I've been doing the levy, it's been very small, the CPI. And so having it be 5% 2 years in a row is very unusual. But all of those factors combined is what led to the actual extension being 12.39% higher than the prior year's extension. Yeah, but your property tax bill didn't go up by that amount. Like, your property tax bill it was actually basically stable from the prior year. It was very, very small increase. Because the existing taxpayers' rates don't necessarily increase at the same amount as the total tax bill would. Any other questions?
Are we expecting any? I mean, normally we when we cast our levy, we cast it much higher than we expect. For the example you gave, in case the disputed properties come back on the tax rolls, is there any? Have you heard any indication about what new growth is going to be in the next year?
Yep. Actually, could you go back to that same slide again? So that's a good question. And one of the reasons we levied 30% last year instead of the 25 we'd done historically since 2016 or, the last few years, is because we knew about that influx of new property. So we're kind of back to baseline now. The estimate from the county clerk's office for new property is only around 8 million, which, like I said, 6 to 10 is pretty average for Urbana. We don't have a whole ton of growth around our area. So that's kind of back. That's what the assessor's office released in August for us to use as our estimate, which when I compared last year's estimate to actual was very accurate. So that gave me a lot of confidence that it's kind of coming, because sometimes you don't really know if it's going to be very accurate. And a lot of it can depend also on the cases for the appeals that settle between when that assessor's estimate comes out in August and then all the appeals start rolling in, that it could actually go down. But it could go up just as easily if properties get finalized, because it's all about the value at December 31st. But in addition to that, I do have a brief update on the property tax appeal case, which, we're not involved in that case. We settled out of it, but it does affect us from a levy standpoint if those properties were to come on as new property. And the case has moved forward out of the county level, out of the appellate level, and is being appealed by the city and the county to the Illinois Supreme Court. But the case won't move forward probably until like the end of next calendar year. So the likelihood of the hospital properties winding up on the tax rolls is remote, but it's something we want to plan for so that we have all of the information available if we were to choose to reduce and not accept the new property.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
You're welcome.
This is great, Kate. Thank
Thanks.
you. Again, the proposed levy is an action item for later this evening. Okay. This does take us to our consent agenda. We have a slew of minutes from the October 10th business meeting, October 11th special meetings, the October 23rd special meeting, the October 24th BOE UEA roundtable, the October 26th special meeting, the October 27th special meeting, the October 29th special meeting, the October 30th special meeting, the November 7th special meeting. 11.2 are bills and checks. September advance approval granted on October 10th. Now we have the actual numbers. Ed fund bills, the tune of $1.3 million. Operation and maintenance fund bills for $309,000. Transportation fund bills for nearly $200,000. Working cash bonds for $186,000. School facility occupancy tax for $1,021,000. Tort for $79,000. Life safety levy for $15,000. Payroll for $9.4 million. and Urbana Adult Education for $40,400. We have advanced approval for the October bills and checks requested tonight due to the change in board meetings. That's 11.3. 11.4 is a list of typical personnel items we have this time of year. We have a long list of items for weeding, for personal property. That is in 11.5. And we have a new activity count at UMS for the Urbana Middle School 6th grade basketball for boys. Does anybody wish to remove any of the action items on our consent agenda? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
Member Staton?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Hasanaka?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Exum?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes, now we have our gifts, and this is going to take me a bit. The following donated a total of $4,000 to support Urbana High School trip to Disney in December. These are all Angie Franklin's friends. Alexis Maybach, Jennifer Nottingham, Danielle Cook, Susie Hutton, Sandra Otten, Jason Weishall, Mark Ballard, Nick Stilwell, Tom Conklin, Phil Laurie Sexton, Sue Aldridge, Hoppy Ann Graham, Sherry Langendorf, Abby Rose, Debbie Black, Ashley Withers, Chris Angeletti, Terry Angeletti, Dan Lance, Randy Keeley Ashman, Nancy Sullivan, Melanie Furchow, Julia Lowry, Brandon Morton, Aaron Wyke, Sarah Doyle, Gianna Baker, Nuria Arwari, Cord and Katie Schroeder, Steve Waller, Cheryl Annis, Jennifer Ivory Tatum, Angie Franklin, Paul Pulaski, Deb Hummel, Ruth Wyman, Jill Pepper, Sean Smith, David Julie Guth, Susan Zola, Susan Nicholas, Jen Watson, Jasmine Somerville, Laura Weiss, Yola Edwards, Jaden Jackson, Lisa Kincaid, Jessica Abramson, Andrea Kirkland, Todd Taylor, Jan Feeney, Cheryl, Gurna, Jen Roan, Susan Roten, Louisiana Hernandez, Stacy Paterick, Nancy Laurie, Robin Ferguson, Kathy Shannon, Linda Gibbons, Nathan Jones, Heather Cups Miller, Beth Gatsky, Teresa Sweeney, Katie Flugie, Vicki Trimble, Clint Cherry, Cynthia Ward, Marion Wyatt, Lindsay Rasner, Julie Duvall, Amanda Rossner, and Jennifer Boyd. Pardon me if I butchered anybody's name. Champaign County retired teachers donated $375 to Urbana High School Student Senate to help support this Thanksgiving dinner. Jeff Unger from Urbana donated $500 to each of the boys and girls tennis teams. Class of 1977 donated $1,415.12 to the Urbana High School Food Pantry. Ritual Salon CU LLC donated $300 to Urbana High School. And Werlo Incorporated in Champaign donated $500 to the Urbana Middle School Girls Basketball Program. Is there a motion to accept the gifts and send out the appropriate number of thank yous? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody. 12.2 is our proposed tax levy. So, is there a motion to approve the proposed tax levy that was just presented in our administrative report?
I move for approval of the tax levy as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Hasanaka?
Yes.
Member Staton?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
Vice President Exum?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes. 12.3 is our school maintenance grant. Randy, could you provide context for us?
The school maintenance project grant is a dollar for dollar Illinois state matching grant program. The program provides awards up to $50,000 to grantees exclusively for the maintenance or upkeep of buildings or structures for educational purposes. There is no limit to the cost of the project. However, the grant shall not exceed $50,000 per grant awarded, and applicants shall provide a match from local funds equal to the grant amount requested. The process behind this is apply for the grant by the deadline. Grant requires health life safety amendment to be submitted by the deadline to be considered for a higher priority request. Matching funds will come from life safety funds or working cash if available. We are going to apply the grant to the Urbana Middle School roof replacement project. If we award the grant, we'll put it towards a grand total amount of $157,650. That's not totally true. We're gonna that's how much the roofing cost. And then we would like to, for the district to maintain a 10% contingency plan of $15,765 for $189,100. And we'll provide a copy of the grant, that's today, to the board to see. It's got the map and everything on it. So basically, this is like Katie's pumpkin pie. If we want to put $189,000 towards this roof, hopefully we'll get $50,000.
Thank you very much for that context. Is
Any
there
questions?
is there a motion to request approval of the grant submission?
I so move.
A second. Oh.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Staton? Member Hasanaka?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Exum?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes. 12.4 is a resolution and declaring the intent of the board to issue not exceeding $3,500,000 working cash fund bonds. Ms. Katie, can you provide context for this request?
Yep. So if you'll recall, Ann Noble from Stiefel was here on October 3rd to facilitate a board discussion regarding bond issuances. This is the next step in that process. So this resolution and the one in the following action item, this is the one for our regular annual, or every 3 years, we issue around $3 million in working cash bonds, and that funds our summer projects that Randy's facility staff work on throughout the year. And so that's what this action item is, and then I can speak to the other action item now, or you can call me back, whichever.
I'll call you back.
Okay.
So this is the every 3 years working cash fund. It basically provides liquidity to the district during that period as we have ebb and flows in both of our expenses and our revenues. So, is there a motion to issue these working cash bonds?
I move for approval. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote is in order.
Member Staton? Member Hasanaka?
Yes.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Exum?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes. 12.5 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $23 million general obligation school bonds.
So this is the bond that would be used for construction of the Wiley Elementary School 6th grade center project concept. And so the ask on that is the 23 million, but that's a not to exceed amount of bonds that you can issue over a 3-year period. Same with the 3.5 million in the previous action item. We typically only issue about 3. So it's just a limit that if we were to, if there was any wiggle room at all, that we would have to come back and do this entire multi-month process again. So the next step after tonight is that a public a notice will go in the newspaper on the 17th of November about the intent to sell the bonds. And then we will have the next board meeting on the 19th is when we'll hold the the public hearing, which is the BINA hearing for the bonds. And then the board hopefully will approve the sale of the bonds, meaning both of the different resolutions, on January 23rd. So it's like a 4-part kind of meeting structure to get the process going.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I move for approval of the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments or discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Baxley?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Hasanaka?
Yes.
Member Staton? Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Exum?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes, motion passes. Yeah, okay. So in our agenda, we listed November 15th as a call for an executive session for us tomorrow night, and it has been canceled. There is no need for that executive session. Our next meeting will be an executive special meeting of the board on November 29th with the ISB field director for a board evaluation and professional development. Superintendent's report.
Okay, so we've shared previously that the Student Council is hosting the 50th annual Thanksgiving dinner. They're always looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering, please call one of the above numbers and leave a message for Student Council. Donations are also welcome. So this is Thanksgiving Day from 4 to 6. You enter in door 1 and the meal is in the commons. So it is open and for the community on a first come, first served basis. Thanksgiving break, just a reminder, next week the district is closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and our offices are also closed during that time, so no school for students. Veterans Day, so as you know, Veterans Day was Saturday and recognized on Friday, and the U.S. Champaign County Army Recruiting Station surprised several of our UHS veterans from different military branches and surprised them with a nice award for their service. So here's a few pictures of that. So they were very surprised. It was a great opportunity. I was happy to be able to just tag along with Mr. Guzman, so it was fun. UECS celebration, thanks to all the board members, Sherry, Tori, who came. We had some previous board members there. It was a great event celebrating 50 years of early childhood in Urbana. So the mayor came and read a proclamation. We had former administrators, lots of retired teachers that showed up, parents who came. We have some former university professors who are really instrumental in working with early childhood when they were on Broadway years ago. So congratulations and thanks for everyone who came out to share. We had a letter from Governor Pritzker that we read because he was also invited, but sadly could not attend. But he did send our congratulations. There was a family event right after where we celebrated 10 years of being in that beautiful space, and they also had a family reading night event. So the UHS musical, so congrats to the UHS Theater Club for a successful 12th night, the musical. The performances this weekend, I went on Thursday night. Here are a couple of the photos I took, so hopefully you had a chance to go. It was fun, a great cast, and they seemed like they had a lot of fun, so congrats to UHS Theater. Our student ambassadors have already shared this about the Wind Orchestra and the Wind Symphony's performances at Cranert and on Wednesday the 15th, and the Symphonic Band on Thursday the 16th. Family and Community Cafe, our second Family and Community Cafe. Remember, this is an initiative through our Equity Action Plan. Will be held after Thanksgiving, November 28th from 5:30 to 7:30 in the gym at Dr. Williams. Child care is available, and light refreshments will be served. Our topic for this next cafe is mental health and well-being. The diaper drive is coming. This is something I can't remember how many years we've done this, but the last couple years it's been very successful. So See You Early, an early childhood partner to collect diapers. We'll be doing that the first week of December, and there are flyers all over the district. If you're interested, any of our schools will have a drop-off location box. So let's come out and support our families. I did not realize it's been a long time since I had kids in diapers, but there are families spending $900 a year plus on diapers. So it is really expensive. So I know they appreciate our donations. And last but not least, our board members have a token of our appreciation on behalf of the district and administrators because tomorrow is School Board Members Day in Illinois. So Lori and I always struggle on what we should get you guys, and we thought chocolate. Why not chocolate, right? You need some more Urbana Tiger gear, so you have a cup there and lots of chocolate, and we just want to recognize you and thank you for your service. This is a lot of time and effort for a job that is a volunteer position. So we appreciate all of the time you put in, all the emails, the phone calls, the conversations in Walmart and Myers and all the places where you get stopped. Because I know that's what happens to me, so I'm sure it happens to you, but we appreciate you. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
And tomorrow is also National Education Support Professionals Day. So our ESP people are some of the backbone folks in our district. They help our district run, and I don't know what we would do without them. So thank you to our ESP staff for all you do. And November 17th is Substitute Educators Day. So thank you on behalf of the district to our board members, our ESPs, and our subs. And then we have one FOIA that has been completed from Tom Schroeder. All itemized invoices received by the district for legal services that were provided to the district during the current calendar year, January 1, 2023 to present.
It's time for board reports. I'd like to recognize Anna Seaman for running our cameras and audio, which I've been neglecting to do over the past few meetings because she's no longer in the room with us. She's in a closet kind of in the back of this building. So we appreciate you, Anna. We very, very, very much do. Any other board reports?
I didn't say before, I didn't have an opportunity to when we voted, but I wanted to thank Angie for spearheading the donations for the choir, so that enabled them to get a comfortable bus, so to get to the airport. So thank you, Angie.
Yes, that's very much appreciated. If there are no more board reports, the chair would entertain a motion to go into closed session for purpose of litigation after a 10-minute recess.
So move.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Hasanaka,
Yes.
Member Staton,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Baxley,
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Exum,
Yes.
President Pulowski.
Yes, I neglected to say there will be no action following the closed session. So thank you very much. We're recessed.